Hi everyone, it is Kate here for my Reading Resolutions 2017 video. I wasn't sure if I had enough thoughts on this to create a video, but once I started writing out the thoughts that I did have, I realized I had enough for a whole video. So I wanted to tell you my general thoughts on what my reading was like this past year and my general thoughts on what I would like my reading to be in the year 2017. I have created, first off, a pie chart of all of the different genres that I read. Now, I read a total of 122 books this year. And as you can see on the pie chart, the #1 genre that I read were mysteries. I read a total of 45 mysteries, and I'm actually very happy with this number because mysteries just make me happy, and mysteries keep me out of and bring me out of reading slumps. I'm very happy with the number of mysteries. I want to keep that the same. I read a total of 29 classics, and I think I'm happy with that. I think that's a good number. Ideally, I would have liked it to be like 50 classics, but let's just be honest. You can't plow through a classic the way you can other literature. And then we see I read 19 modern classics. I'm also happy with that number. I think that's a good number. I read 6 literary fiction. I would like this number to maybe be higher, but what I would really like to be higher are the next ones, and that is I read 3 nonfiction. I want that to be much higher. I don't know how much I'm gonna go out of my way to do it, but I just think it would be good for me to be reading more nonfiction, but the one that I most want to increase, I only read 2 fairy tale retellings, and I read Ella Enchanted and The Goose Girl, and when I was thinking back on what I had read over the course of the year and how much fun I had when I was reading things, I had the most fun when I was reading fairy tale retellings. So then I grouped the whole Lunar Chronicles into my science fiction and fantasy section, but those are also technically fairy tale retellings, and I had so much fun reading the Lunar Chronicles, guys. It's like one of my favorite memories from the year. So I read 10 science fiction and fantasy, and I'd like that along with fairy tale retellings to be higher. I mentioned that before in a recent video. I have not made enough time for fantasy this year, and I feel kind of gypped. I read 3 romance, and I think romance isn't really for me, so I don't want to increase that number. I don't necessarily want to decrease it. Maybe I'll read some romances, but I feel fine with that. 4 general fiction and 1 children's. And I think maybe I'd like to read more children's literature, but like I said, what I really want to increase are fairy tale retellings, science fiction and fantasy, and non-fiction. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that pie chart. And then also in that number, something I would like to change, I counted. So out of the 122 books that I read, 55 of those were buddy reads, and that number is way too freaking high. I was watching Stephanie over at That's What She Read talking about, I can't remember what specific video it was. Maybe it was her reading resolutions also. And I talked about in a chat video earlier that I want to be doing less buddy reads because sometimes I would have 3 or 4 going on at the same time. This is exactly what happened to Stephanie too. And then I would feel overwhelmed by all of the buddy reads, and so then I wouldn't read. Not only would I feel too overwhelmed to read all of those buddy reads, but I would feel then like I wasn't allowed to read my spontaneous reading. So I want more time for spontaneous reading. I want more time for just reading what I want to read. This is not to say buddy reads are gone altogether, but I think my system that I'm going to have is that Kate from the novel Nomad and I, she's the only lady who I know who adores mysteries as much as I do. We read 2 mysteries together each month, and I'm going to continue doing that and then allow 1 other buddy read in the month. So this month I am reading Burial Rites with Rebecca from the Book Nester, and I'm so excited. Very excited. And I think that's a comfortable amount. I would love to socialize with all of my BookTube friends every month, but I think just for me to not get in reading slumps and to be able to savor books, which I want to do more this year, I think that that is a good number for now. For the foreseeable future, nothing has to be permanent. If I want to start doing more buddy reads later in the year, then I can do that. I can make that decision later. So I liked the amount of mysteries that I read. I read exactly half cozy and half more hard-boiled, more crime fiction. I thought that was really interesting. So I think that shows you that I like them equally. I think some people get the impression from my channel, I think maybe they listen more when I talk about the cozies, but I love my hard-boiled, more chilling crimes, but I like them equally. So, yeah, big classics, modern classics. I one favorite part of my year was Victober. So I definitely want to keep reading Victorian literature. It really like reignited my love for Victorian literature. I started out rough in the year with Middlemarch and The Way We Live Now. And those were two that I didn't enjoy as much. So I think I had forgotten how much I loved it. The things that I didn't like, I talked about too many buddy reads. Also, too much fast-paced reading. I would like rushing classics, and that's something I don't want to do. So I want to savor my reads more and have more spontaneous reads, and just kind of treat reads in general like things I heard about on BookTube that weren't scheduled at all, and I just want my reading to be more organic. Then in addition to that, I am going to be doing the system that I was reminded of it by Giselle Bradley on her channel. She's doing the Reading Star, and Priscilla from the Readables was the first one to do this. So I'm going to jump on that bandwagon, and I don't have the jar handy, but it's just a little translucent jar. And then you take different colored paper and you make little stars from it. So every book that you read, you make a star, and you make the different stars based on the genre that you read. So I have it all labeled here. I have mysteries, classics, modern classics, literary fiction, fantasy, fairy tale retellings, nonfiction, magical realism, kind of like Rosamund Pilcher, women's fiction type, that kind of like cozy, like Elizabeth Gouge. I have floral, and then historical fiction. So these are, you know, ones I want to be reading more of. So I think in general, I just want to be reading, I want to allow more time for historical fiction, fantasy, science fiction, nonfiction, fairy tale retellings. In addition to that, I also, like I said, I want to savor my books more and be organized also at the same time. So I will say to people who like to buy planners, wait until right before the new year, because I was interested in getting this really beautiful type of planner from Michaels, but it was more than I wanted to spend, and then I think it was like December 30th and 31st, they had 60% off these planners. So wait until the new year, or right before the new year, and then you can have a discount. So it has this really nice case. I just wanted a way to organize like my life and all of my books. And so it's just really cute, and then it has a really nice picture before each of the months. And so then I have my month here, and I've you know, started to write some goals that I have and just appointments and different things. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to savor books more, like I said, so I figured I should just have a quotes notebook. I've tried before. Rebecca from the Book Nester also does lots of, it's really beautiful, like book journaling, where you do pictures, like, you know, doodles that remind you of the book, and then the quotes around the pictures. And I started to do that in the summer, but I only managed to do it for like 3 books, and I'm just not that good at art. I'm just not that good at drawing. So I just want to be upfront about that, and I figured that I should start out simpler. The simpler it is, the more sustainable it is. And I also want to have like a physical log of my books. So like I said, the simpler it is, the more sustainable it is. So I just got this set of 3 little notebooks. They're not very pretty, but they're just simple, like I said. But I love the floppiness of them. They're really easy to fold around, and I like the width of the pages and the stripes and everything. So I'm happy with this. So the first, I got these 3 to have some extras, and then I realized I actually had a purpose for each of them. So the first is quotes and notes, and this has been so much fun. So I'm currently reading and absolutely loving, spoiler alert, Dorothy Sayers' Strong Poison. And it's a library copy, but I want to do this with all my books. Just take the time to write out the beautiful quotes, because yes, I can underline in my own books that I have, but I think it's really a nice notion to just have them, have all the quotes that you love, in one location. And it's also a really great way to really appreciate the books that you're reading. It's making me appreciate Strong Poison way more than I did, and slow down and enjoy things. The next one that I'm going to use, I'm calling this All of the Books 2017. So I am a list maker, like many millennials, and I love to make these different lists. And so I would have like 12 different little pieces of paper to try to keep track of, and then just lose them. So I was like, you know what, just forget this. I need a notebook for that. So in the second half of the notebook, I'm putting recommendations. So any book that I hear that sounds interesting, I'm going to do that. So I have all these pages that I can fill with that if I feel so led. Then I also, just for example, the kinds of things I'm doing, Winter 2017 TBR, which you guys have seen that. Library haul for books if I don't finish them by the time they're due and I want to look at it later. Monday missions, kind of what I wanted to read in that week. Kate and myself from the Novel Nomad, Kate, our mysteries and different books that we want to read together this year. Then my own mystery TBR, my January buddy reads, my Christmas book haul, so I could just look back and remember, my fantasy TBR, top priority books that I want to buy, then books that I want to put on hold from the library as soon as they show up in the library catalog. Let's see, what else is there? Modern Classics TBR, Classics TBR, Victorian TBR, all the fairy tale retellings that I found recommended on BookTube. And yeah, so those are all of the, kind of lists I put in here. And then my last notebook I will use for my reading log 2017. So I just figured, like I said, simpler is better. I might take the time to print out a little picture of the book cover, but in general I'm just going to put the title, date completed, number of stars, page numbers, and the general thoughts that I have on the book. That's going to be my reading system so far. I think I'm happy with it. I think I'm excited about it. I will let you guys know how it goes, further into the year, how those notebooks last. And I will see you guys for another video very soon.